Hey, welcome to the e-bike products live stream commentary. And for those of you who are joining us right now, and maybe it's in the future, by all means put comments below because then we can add it for maybe the next commentary coming up. But for today, I want to talk a little about the benefits of actually riding e-bikes. There's one of the things I want to talk about. Another thing is called the bike bus. And I guess also some regulation that's going to come down that actually might be potentially starting to spread as time goes on. We are seeing a lot of issues with, I guess, unsafe riding. And when that happens, of course, when people get hurt, then new regulation comes into play. And that's not an uncommon thing that we typically see. But before we go into, I guess, the negative type of content, not negative, but the regulations and serious matters, I'd like to go ahead and talk more about, or first off, about some of the cool things that are actually, there's things that I find that I think are really interesting and kind of fun to talk about. And first of all, I want to talk about, I've been traveling for the last weekend and I went to San Francisco, and my in laws there actually happened to live right next to a McDonald's where in the downtown or the heart of San Francisco. And what's really cool is if you ever get a chance to go around to these big cities that do a lot of e-bike deliveries, you get a chance to really check out some interesting e-bikes. So my first exposure to this was in New York City. And when I was there, of course, walking around looking at all these different e-bikes because they absolutely have a flood of delivery people that are using e-bikes to get around, and you see a whole bunch of different e-bikes than what you would see say in Seattle. When I was there, I also saw different type of e-bike styles, more variety. And then when I'm in San Francisco, of course, there's a huge different range. And I was talking to my wife about this, that oh, by the way, welcome to the live stream. We're talking about the different e-bikes that are seen in different cities that are used by delivery people. And I got a chance to talk to some of the guys from Electric Today, which was a lot of fun, just to talk about what's going on, different e-bike industry things that are happening, and also to thank them. They've actually sent me one of the Electric One e-bikes that are now, I honestly gonna say it's gonna be one of the best e-bikes on the market for a while until someone can comes up with something better. The innovation that's in this bike is pretty cool. But as I am in San Francisco this past weekend, one thing I noticed is that they have a lot of the higher powered, bigger name brand bikes. Whereas a comparison when you talk about going to New York City and you see the bikes there, they have some that have long range, but you do see a lot of e-bikes that are almost, they look like they're taped together. It's kind of funny. I think I see a lot more of the Amazon style bikes, and because they are more affordable, they're cheaper. And what seems to happen is these bikes then get modified to have longer range by paralleling batteries together to make them longer ranges. I don't see too many modifications necessarily with the motors, but I didn't really look that close. But the really big modifications you can see are like these batteries that are being put together. So in a future video that I'm going to be coming out with, we will be talking a little about battery safety even more. I'm getting a little, I guess, intrigued with the standards that are coming out. Rad today launched, I guess, a few more bikes in their line, and they're using the safest bike type. I can't recall exactly the terminology they're using it, but they're calling extra safe bikes. Batteries that have extra, I guess, protection on it against fires. But when I've been digging into, I guess, understanding UL ratings, there's a lot that people get into that's really in depth as far as the UL labs that are used out there. And it's interesting to see the different e-bikes that are out there, and the lack of safety that people go through to make a bike modified. So I can see why New York has the law where bikes cannot be, or batteries can't even be shipped in without UL ratings on the certifications. And then also e-bikes there can't be sold without at least the batteries being certified. So it's a standard that is, I it might not be a bad thing to have nationwide. I mean, when you understand what UL rating does and how far they go into making sure that everything's up to par and nothing is being cut corners as far as getting the bikes out there, because we're running with a lot of batteries that are expensive, so the competition may want to cut corners that are unsafe. They're using maybe wiring that is not actually rated, even electronics that are not actually rated well, but even the cells that are not actually maybe made by reputable manufacturers. And of course, one cell, if one of those actually starts to catch on fire, the rest can actually just go, and you have this problem that's going to start to happen. So let's go ahead, and I want to discuss a little bit about the different bikes that I've actually seen, because I thought was really interesting. In San Francisco, you see a lot of the higher powered name brand bikes. I even saw a guy using an Eohora bike, which is one of those that have these monstrous, it's huge batteries, and these ranges that it can go on are quite far. And then there's a lot of Troxus. I noticed that they use the Troxus bikes, which I did review one of those, and it was really powerful. It's a little louder bike, but it is a good bike, very powerful in there. And of course, it's because when you go through San Francisco, the hills that they have to climb, they need some really powerful bikes. So you see a lot of that. In Seattle, I noticed that there was a lot more name brand of the top 5 bikes. Like you see electrics being used, you see some Aventins, you see rad bikes, but there's more variety of those types of bikes. But definitely you see, I guess, generic style bikes in New York City. And like I said, I think it's just because they have more flat surfaces. They don't need bikes as powerful to climb hills there, and it's just a matter of getting around. The longer distances, the more deliveries. And I just kind of see these different cities having different types of bikes, when generally in the market we all kind of have like the same kind of bikes that are out there now. That all being said, this is just a commentary of what I've been seeing that I thought was really interesting when I got a chance to travel to some of the bigger cities out there. In my area, we have not a lot of deliveries being done. It's too spread out. I live in a more suburb type area, so we don't have these bikes that are a lot. In fact, I don't think I've seen anybody use e-bikes in my area for delivery. It's just going to take too long. Cars are just more convenient. Definitely a lot of hybrids in cars, and a lot more EV vehicles out there. But that's the first part I want to talk about. So that was just something interesting. That's the commentary that I saw. Different cities. I'd love to hear what kind of bikes that you guys have, or if you have a lot of delivery people using e-bikes there. But speaking of, I guess, bikes in general. So right now it's 92 degrees. I think it's come down. Yesterday it was like 102 or 100 degrees. It's been really, really hot here. So I get a chance to jump on my bike really quickly, do a quick ride before it gets too hot. And while doing that, I thought I had this, I guess, memory of the first time I jumped on my first e-bike and the thrill that came out of it. And it's because I'm riding again, as I mentioned earlier, I got the electric one that I've just kind of assembled, put together. I'm starting to do some test rides to get a feel for it, to do a review. And I got that thrill again. And as I thought about that, there was a video I wanted to do in the past about the mental health benefits of e-bikes. And I know I have heard time and time again, for those that have e-bikes, how much it has impacted them so beneficially. I guess the benefits of it through their mental health. And as I went through, I just decided, I jumped on ChatGPT to ask what are the different things that it can think of as far as the benefits of riding e-bikes. And it gave me a list of 100, but I just took the top 10, and it was really interesting. So I'm going to show you my screen here of the top 10 things that ChatGPT came up as far as the benefits of riding an e-bike. And what I would like, I'm going to go ahead and make me a little smaller to get my head out of the way here. But what I'd like to point out is I have seen this time and time again because of the fact that I get to review a lot of bikes. And while I'm out there, sometimes people ask about the bikes. So I like to go ahead and share, or I let even people even try the bikes right then and there. And I don't think I've ever seen somebody have a grouchy face jumping on the bike the first time and going for a ride. I think every single time you have that smile that comes, the e-bike smile or the first time rider smile that comes up. And it's pretty interesting that you see that. And um, I I have a few friends that actually have served in the military that have PTSD, and they have even said the stress reduction or the PTSD, um, it's the benefits they get that helps against their PTSD is dramatic. And you know, it's so interesting because when I went on to ChatGPT and they started listing all of these things and these benefits, it almost seemed like the miracle drug. And that's, I don't know what people would say if that's a right terminology for me to use, but it almost seems like it. I mean, the stress reduction. I mean, if let's go down the list here, improves your mood, enhanced cognitive function. It gives you better sleep. It increases social interaction, which is actually kind of a big thing because it does bring a lot of, I don't know, fun talks when you actually have one of these things and you're talking to people. It boosted self-esteem and confidence, mindfulness, mental clarity, reduction of anxiety, increased motivation and energy, improve resilience to stress. And I got to say, even doing work, if I, had a stressful day at work, jump on my bike, it really does help with get past a lot of maybe obstacles during the workday that you're trying to solve problems and issues. The creative mind starts to actually open up, and I just thought it was really cool. There are so many things, and I don't think did they even talk anything about exercise? Not really. Now, I ride my bikes a lot like mopeds, depending on what I'm doing. I do get some exercise depending on which bikes I'm also riding. Some of them I actually like to ride for a little more exercise where I can actually pedal a little more because I need to. Like some torque sensor bikes or some single commuter bikes that have only single speed. Those bikes, they have a motor to help. They have PS levels, but they don't have a throttle. So you have to keep pedaling to keep it going. And that's one of the things I really like to have with my e-bikes. The other things that I came up with is that while talking to some of the guys at Electric, they actually said, "Hey, have I heard of the bike bus?" Because that was just random conversations that kind of come up when you talk about people who or talk with people who are actually in the e-bike industry. So they shared with me this thing called the bike bus, and I dug into it, kind of went down the rabbit hole about this, and it was really interesting. This what you see on this top screen here. In fact, let me go ahead and show you a picture of this is the bike bus. The guy who actually, I guess, this is about a year ago. Yeah, he went viral, or some of the videos of people that have made about this have gone viral. And let me go ahead and turn down the volume here.
All right, friends, if you hear me clap one, when I say bike, you say bike.
So, and now I'm not going to go into watch the whole video here, but basically what he does is Sam Balto is a teacher at Alameda Elementary. I think it's in Oregon, and he decided he wanted to go ahead and have kids ride to school and organize this thing called the bike bus. And I guess it's a few times a week where they actually got funding from their local government to actually have this put together and organized, because to make it's such a big thing. I mean, take a look at this. I get ads, but there's pictures where there's so many kids riding, and they need to have it where they can make sure that it's safe. So what they actually have is volunteers or paid people that will ride with the kids, and wherever you live, as the bike bus comes through, then you can join the group as you go along. So you have all of these, again, health benefits, because it is proven when they've done these tests or when they've actually watched the kids actually study better or think better and get better grades by having a little exercise before the morning begins. And I remember as a kid, I lived about 1.5 miles from school, or a mile, and we rode our bikes to school occasionally. Now I lived in Hawaii, so it rained a lot, so there was a lot of days we couldn't. But the days that we could ride, if we did ride our bikes to school, it was absolutely a blast. And it definitely did get me, definitely woke me up in the morning, and it got my energy flowing. And I mean, I don't know if it affected my grades any better or not, but it did give me a better positive attitude for the day. Also got me excited for when my day was going to be over so I can ride around after school. Um, but this bike bus thing was actually pretty cool. There's also other things called the bicycle buses. Now, this is actually in the Netherlands, and this is cool, but there's actually these buses or bike buses where the kids actually have to pedal it like here. And I think that's kind of funny too. But there's that bike bus, and there's another bike bus. I just want to, just some of the cool things. And there's another school bike bus where this is not a new concept in Oregon. They actually do that in Glasgow. They actually have another bike bus, and there's hundreds of kids that are riding. It's pretty a pretty big deal. And New Jersey even has their own bike bus out there as well, and they have a bunch of their parents getting together and making this happen. And I guess there's some places where the buses don't go, like the regular gas or diesel buses that pick up kids, that they have ability to go ahead and ride to school. And while this conversation was going, I know that Electric was saying something about they're looking for a way that they can help support that. Because you do need like 5 different things to actually have a successful, consistent bike bus happening. One is the people to actually help it, because a lot of parents do ride. They actually do block traffic during intersections to make sure the whole bike bus can go through. So they do get funding for that as well. Then you also need the support of the community of what's going on. And just, I guess there's some logistics that actually has to happen to make sure, because the kids have to have bikes. They also have bike training programs along the way too. And the reason why I want to kind of transition from this, the bike training programs for what's happening with bike buses, is now this is for mostly regular bikes. Would e-bikes be allowed for kids to ride in something like this? And here's what's, I guess, becoming a little more concerning, is that there are a lot more children getting hurt riding e-bikes, and a lot of it is unsafe. I mean, if you ever do a search for e-bike news, kids, or problems or regulation e-bikes, and you look at some of the YouTube videos, of course they show some of these guys on Suron. I mean, these are kids riding Suron e-bikes, wheeling down the street, doing some really unsafe things. Honestly, it is a problem, and a lot of them don't have helmets. That's another issue. I'm for, if you're an adult, if you choose to wear a helmet or not, that's up to you. But for a child, honestly, I am all, and this is my opinion, I'm all for having any kid under 18 should be having a helmet on their head, no matter what, if they're riding a bike. It's the least we can do to keep them safe, because head trauma is horrendously life-changing in a negative way. And I mean, there's also, I mean, worse things can happen, of course. I mean, what's moving forward with this regulation that I'm going to be talking about is, I guess Oregon just passed a regulation. I have an article here that I'm going to be bringing up, that Bend, a teen in Bend, lost his life to riding an e-bike, and he ran it. I guess a van had hit him. So they do now have a Trenton's Law that's coming out. And it means that, and basically anyone that doesn't have the ability to get a learner's permit is not going to be allowed to ride an e-bike. So at 16 years old, they can get a learner's permit. Well, and if you think about it, our e-bikes go 20 miles an hour on even a class 1. And it's pretty fast. I mean, you can get seriously hurt going 20 miles an hour, and you can get seriously hurt running and falling. So keep in mind, if you're riding on the streets and cars are going even 40, 50 miles an hour, they can hit you. There is the potential for kids to get hurt, especially when they ride unsafely. I remember in Encinitas, where there is a lot of laws and regulations being passed there as well. And these kids literally hardly even look as they cross over multiple lanes onto oncoming lane traffic. I mean, in open street, I'm far enough where I wasn't concerned that I'd hit them, but the fact of the way that they hardly glanced over their shoulder and just shot across the street, and I'm seeing this, and when one goes, the next goes. It's one of those things that you kind of wonder how many kids would still get hurt if nothing is being put into place. And it is unfortunate that a child lost their life, a teenager, that before laws have to be put into place. But it's not that I don't agree with it. I mean, mopeds, some of the mopeds go. I've had when I was 14 and 15. Illegally, I was riding one, and you needed to have a learner's permit to ride one, and it went up to 30 miles an hour, and I was riding it on the street, and yeah, definitely there were times where it was I rode it unsafely, and luckily I didn't get any no serious injuries for my part. But this this law, the reason why I want to bring this up as a regulation is I am seriously wondering if this will start to become the norm. I mean, I am seeing more and more regulations about minors and e-bikes, and this is something that could definitely have a change to see what can happen when our kids are not being taught how to ride safely. And I hope that this actually does not get to a point where even adults are being overregulated with our e-bikes as well. Um, but we'll see. I mean, where this is going. Just like I said, just a commentary. As these laws start to pass for young kids riding. I mean, I see scooter riders in our area literally flying by me at 40 miles an hour or 35 at least, because my bikes only go 28. And I see someone, I mean, they're going by so quickly that they're got to be going at least 35, 40 miles an hour. And no helmet. That's another thing. And it was a teenager doing that on the bike trails or the bike paths that we have out here. So, yeah, as we move forward with e-bikes still getting larger and more popular, this is something that I just would hope we can learn to keep our kids safe as possible. Now, with these bike buses that are out there, I don't know if kids will be riding e-bikes anyway. It's a good way for them to learn with just a regular pedal bike how to ride together, how to be safe, and really to get some exercise. I do have a comment here by Shelly. She's interested in being sponsored by the mile to raise money for nonprofits. Does anyone know how I should go about doing this? Shelly, I don't know. I mean, my wife works for a nonprofit that rescues kids from human trafficking, and they do sponsor rides or riders for like something like what's called RAM, Ride Across America. And what they do is they just do typical fundraising, and it's based on the whole mileage that they're doing. But I am sorry, I don't have actually any ideas on how someone can do raised by the mile. That's really something pretty interesting. I mean, they do a lot of rides for different charities, and I'm not sure. Typically, yeah, I'm not. I would say the nonprofit usually would have an organization way to go ahead and do that. Um, it's a great Yeah, it's a great cause. She lives in the Catskill Mountain in upstate New York, and local sheriff's departments have a bike rodeo for kids and give them all helmets. That's awesome. And yeah, that is, more programs that can actually get helmets on heads. That'd be also, that's another great way just to go ahead and promote safety for kids. The last thing I wanted to kind of talk about was, actually that was it. It was the three things I really wanted to hit on was the health benefits of e-bikes, and to me it seems like almost a miracle pill. And then of course the bike bus and the new bills that seem to be passing in different local communities out there, and to see what happens. But other than that, that was today's commentary. I'd love to hear what anybody else out there that's actually watching this or watches it in the future, what your thoughts are. Do you think actually even e-bikes should have rules with helmet regulations? I mean, like I said, if we're adults, then I guess anybody can make up their own mind. But in the state of California, we have a helmet law for motorcycles, and should that be passed on to things like e-bikes as well? Or do you think that's going to happen anyway? I'm not sure. Anyway, stay tuned for more commentary. I am in the future, we'll be having commentary about what's going on with new bikes coming out. Also, some of the big name brands that are out there seemingly going through some changes, and where the industry is still headed. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next